When a successful tech CEO collapsed during a board meeting, he never expected that the woman who would save his life would also teach him what true wealth really means. What happened next will restore your faith in humanity and show you the incredible power of kindness. Before we get into the story, let us know in the comments what's the kindest thing a stranger has ever done for you. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead as Marcus Chen adjusted his Italian silk tie one final time before stepping into the boardroom. At 38, he was the youngest CEO in his company's history, commanding a tech empire worth billions. His reflection in the polished conference table showed a man who had everything: designer suits, a penthouse overlooking the city, and a bank account that could buy almost anything. But as he began his presentation about quarterly profits, something felt wrong. As you can see from these projections, Marcus's words caught in his throat. The room began to spin, and suddenly the numbers on the screen blurred together like watercolors in the rain. His chest tightened, and a crushing pain shot down his left arm. The last thing he remembered was the shocked faces of his board members as he collapsed onto the marble floor. 3 floors below, in the emergency department of St. Mary's Hospital, Denise Washington was ending what felt like the longest shift of her life. At 42, she had been a nurse for nearly 20 years, and today had been particularly brutal. Her scrubs were wrinkled, her feet ached in shoes that had seen better days, and she couldn't remember the last time she'd eaten anything more substantial than a granola bar from the vending machine. As she gathered her things from her locker, Denise thought about the stack of bills waiting at home. Her teenage daughter Maya needed new textbooks, and the rent was due in 3 days. Her second job at the clinic across town would have to wait. The hospital was calling all hands on deck for a major trauma case. "Code Blue, OR3, all available staff to OR3, the intercom crackled.
Denise didn't hesitate. She'd been saving lives for 2 decades, and one more patient meant one more chance to make a difference. She grabbed her stethoscope and rushed toward the operating room, her worn sneakers squeaking against the linoleum floor. Inside OR3, chaos reigned. The patient, a well-dressed man in his late 30s, was in full cardiac arrest. Dr. Rodriguez called out commands while the team worked frantically to stabilize him. Denise seamlessly joined the effort, her experienced hands moving with practiced precision as she monitored vital signs and administered medications. "He's coding again," Dr. Rodriguez announced grimly. "Denise, I need you to take over compressions while I prep for emergency bypass." For the next 4 hours, Denise fought alongside the surgical team to save a stranger's life. Her arms burned from continuous chest compressions, sweat beaded on her forehead beneath her surgical cap, and her back ached from leaning over the operating table. But she never stopped. Every compression was delivered with the same care she'd want someone to show her own family. "I've got a pulse," Dr. Rodriguez finally announced. "Strong and steady. Outstanding work, everyone." As the patient was wheeled to the ICU, Denise finally allowed herself a moment to breathe. She didn't know who he was, just another person who needed help. That's how she saw every patient, whether they were homeless or wealthy, young or old. In her eyes, every life held the same precious value. Marcus woke up 3 days later to the gentle sound of monitors beeping and the soft rustle of someone moving around in his room. His throat felt like sandpaper, and his chest was tender, but he was alive. The first face he saw was that of a woman with kind eyes and gentle hands, checking his IV line. "Welcome back," Denise said softly, her voice carrying the warmth of someone who genuinely cared. "You gave us quite a scare there. I'm Denise, one of your nurses."
Marcus tried to speak, but only managed a whisper. What happened?" "You had a massive heart attack. Denise explained, adjusting his pillows with the same care she'd shown her own children. "You're lucky to be alive. The surgery went well, but you'll need to take things easy for a while." As the days passed, Marcus found himself looking forward to Denise's visits. She was different from the other staff, not deferential because of his status, but genuinely caring because of her nature. She'd sit with him during her breaks, sharing stories about her daughter's dreams of becoming a doctor, or simply listening when he needed to talk through his fears about recovery. "You know," Marcus said one evening as Denise was finishing her shift, "I've been thinking about what you said yesterday, about how every day is a gift." Denise smiled as she updated his chart. "My grandmother used to say that. She raised me after my parents passed away. Worked 3 jobs to keep food on the table, but she never complained. She said every sunrise was God's way of giving us another chance to make someone's day better." "She sounds like an incredible woman," Marcus replied, something stirring in his chest that had nothing to do with his heart condition. "She was," Denise nodded. "She's the reason I became a nurse. I wanted to help people the way she helped everyone in our neighborhood." Marcus learned that Denise had been working double shifts to support her daughter's education. Maya was a straight-A student with dreams of medical school, but the family couldn't afford the application fees, let alone tuition. Despite her own struggles, Denise had spent her life savings on her daughter's SAT prep courses and college applications.
Maya got accepted to 3 pre-med programs, Denise shared one afternoon, her eyes bright with pride and worry. "Full scholarships to 2 of them. I'm so proud of her, but I'm also terrified. What if something happens to me? What if I can't keep up with the expenses?" Marcus felt something shift inside him. Here was a woman who had literally saved his life, working herself to exhaustion to give her daughter opportunities she'd never had. Meanwhile, he'd been so focused on profit margins and stock prices that he'd forgotten what really mattered. On his final day in the hospital, Marcus made a decision that would change everything. He had spent the week researching Denise's background, not to invade her privacy, but to understand the full scope of her kindness. She had been volunteering at homeless shelters on weekends, mentoring young nursing students, and had even started a small fund to help families who couldn't afford medical bills. "Denise," he called as she was about to leave his room for the last time. "Mr. Chen, I don't need to give you anything. Taking care of you was just my job." "No," Marcus said firmly. "You didn't just do your job. You saved my life, and you showed me what it means to truly care for someone. Please, just open this envelope." With trembling hands, Denise opened the envelope he'd given her. Inside was a check that made her knees weak. It was enough to pay for Maya's entire education, with money left over to secure their future. "I can't accept this," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "This is too much." "It's not enough," Marcus replied, his own voice thick with emotion. "You gave me my life back. Let me give your daughter her dreams." But Marcus wasn't finished. Over the following weeks, he worked with his legal team to establish the Denise Washington Foundation for Healthcare Heroes. The foundation would provide scholarships for nursing students, support for healthcare workers facing financial hardship, and grants for innovative patient care programs. When Denise learned about the foundation, she was overwhelmed. "You named it after me?" she asked during their first official meeting. "You showed me that real wealth isn't measured in dollars. It's measured in the lives we touch and the difference we make. You've been wealthy all along, you just didn't know it." The foundation's first recipient was Maya Washington, who received a full scholarship to medical school. But the impact spread far beyond one family.
Within a year, the foundation had supported over 500 healthcare workers and their families, created mentorship programs in underserved communities, and established emergency funds for medical professionals facing crisis. Marcus also made changes to his own company, implementing generous healthcare benefits, paid family leave, and a program that matched employee donations to local hospitals. His board initially questioned these expensive initiatives, but Marcus had learned something invaluable during his recovery. Taking care of people isn't an expense, it's an investment in humanity. 5 years later, Marcus stood in the audience at Maya's medical school graduation, watching as the young woman who had once worried about textbook costs walked across the stage as valedictorian. Denise sat beside him, tears of joy streaming down her face. "You know what the best part is?" Denise whispered to Marcus as they watched Maya receive her diploma. "What's that?"
She wants to be a heart surgeon. She says she wants to save lives the way her mom's friend saved hers. Marcus smiled, his own eyes misting over. "Your grandmother was right, you know. Every day is a chance to make someone's life better." "And some days," Denise replied, squeezing his hand, "we get to change someone's entire world." The foundation continued to grow, touching thousands of lives across the country. Marcus never forgot the lesson he learned in that hospital room. The true success isn't about how much you accumulate, but how much you give back. And Denise continued to do what she'd always done, saving lives, one patient at a time, with the same gentle hands and caring heart that had brought a powerful CEO back from the brink of death. Their friendship became legendary in the hospital where they first met. Marcus would visit regularly, not as a wealthy benefactor, but as a friend who understood that the most valuable things in life can't be bought. They can only be given freely, with love. What did you think of Marcus and Denise's story? Share your thoughts in the comments and tell us about a time when kindness changed your life. And don't forget to subscribe for more inspiring tales that remind us of the incredible power of human compassion.